Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Dr. Swab,
Here.
Mrs. Brewer. Here. Pastor Reindl.
Here.
Mr. Biesecker.
Here.
Mr. Manuel.
Here.
I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. And we're also, are we broadcasting this or just saving it? Broadcasting live. All right. Live from Bradford. And next is the agenda. We have any additions or deletions to the agenda that we have before us this evening? Administration, you have anything? Maria first and Scott a second. Roll call for approving the agenda.
Mrs. Brewer.
Yes.
Pastor Reindl.
Yes.
Mr. Biesecker.
Yes.
Mr. Manuel.
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
Yes. Next item is the minutes from March 15th and March 25th that we had a chance to review. Any motion to accept the agenda or accept the minutes, please? Scott, and a second. Thanks, Spencer Louis. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none. Roll call for approval.
Mrs. Brewer.
Yes.
Pastor Reindl.
Yes.
Mr. Biesecker.
Yes.
Mr. Manuel.
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
Yes. Next item is our student staff spotlight. I'd like to turn the meeting over to our administrative team.
Our next nominee is Emma Hartsell, and she was nominated by Mr. Sweeterman. I would like to recognize Emma Hartsell as the Bradford Board of Education Student Spotlight. Emma has been a model student all year long. I have never seen Emma doing something she is not supposed to be doing and has been a fantastic role model for all students to look up to on how to be a railroader. I trust Emma in whatever task that is being asked of the students to give me her very best and is trusted in the leadership role of leading the class and helping other students. The future is incredibly bright for this young lady, and I'm excited to see what she is capable of as she leaves elementary and heads into the future. Great job and congratulations, Emma. So those were elementary, and now we have our junior high school. Our first is Stephen Stewart, who is nominated by Mr. Hall, and this is what Mr. Hall had to say. I would like to recognize Stephen Stewart as the Bradford Board of Education Student Spotlight. This is my first year having Stephen as a student. He has showed tremendous growth over the course of the school year, both academically and socially. He is much more confident in his math abilities now compared to August. He is more willing to assist others needing help now. His confidence has grown from experiencing his own success. He is very active and always supportive to his classmates. He is always smiling and does not appear to have a bad day. That is very contagious to other students in the classroom and usually results in a more positive mood for everyone in the room. Great job and congratulations, Stephen. And our next nominee is actually here, so you can come on up, Patrick. And this is Patrick Putoff, who was nominated by Mrs. Myring. And this is what she had to say. I would like to recognize Patrick Putoff as the Bradford Board of Education Student Spotlight. Patrick is one of Terry and Rita the son of Terry and Rita Putoff. Outside of the classroom, he likes to participate in powerlifting and track and field. He is an 8th grader who always exhibits all the 5 R's. He works hard at everything he does and is always willing to learn. He always is active in class discussions. Patrick turns in quality work and is willing to work with his classmates when they need help. He even volunteers to run errands during his 8th period study hall. He is kind to others and a great example of a railroader. Great job and congratulations, Patrick. And we have staff spotlight this month. And staff spotlight is Corey Cannon and Rachel Myring, who were nominated by Mrs. Levy and Mr. Barr. We would like to recognize 2 new staff members, Corey Cannon and Rachel Myring, as Bradford Board of Education staff spotlights. They have brought a new idea of a drama club. Many students joined, and it was a new successful adventure for the students. It is so good to see acting, lights, props, and behind-the-scenes activities being learned and carried out. Their first production of Check Please in Crazy Town was so fun to watch. The talent that our students have, that without the club we would not have been aware of, is amazing. This is just the beginning of what these fine educators will lead students to express and share in the future. Great job, you two, and congratulations. So that is our student spotlight and staff spotlight. And now we'll move on to the school happenings.
And we're kind of just together on this. So these are the students of the week from the elementary since the last time that we met. Still a great way to represent and share just little things throughout the week that maybe sometimes these students would not be recognized. We switched now where they have a lunch with the principal if they want to sit with me. The older they get, they don't want to do that. And they also get ice cream. So that's something we started for the 4th quarter.
And then these are the Railroaders week for the junior high and high school. They don't have lunch with the principal because I don't think they want to have lunch with the principal. Although I'm sure Mr. Barr would be more than happy to have lunch with them if he chooses, but they do get ice cream. And some of them are pretty excited they look forward to getting that ice cream.
In month of March, it was Developmental Disabilities Month, and we had them come from Darke County, DD. This is the group of adults that came over and talked about their disabilities with the kids in grades K1 and 2. It was neat to have them in the building. The gentleman there on the left side, he is hilarious. So if you ever talk to him, he will crack you up. I can't remember what his name is though. His last name is Byers. Jamie's his name, and he's great fun to talk to.
And then we have a new organization. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But one of the activities that they did is once a month, we're going to wear red on Fridays, and red stands for Remember Everyone Deployed. And it's a way for us to remember those members of the armed services that aren't home with their families, whether it's Bradford people or people across the country. It's just kind of our way of saying thanks. We actually had all the students, K-12 and staff who wore red, come down the main hallway, and we took a picture of it. We also had shirts that were made up that some of the students can buy, and some of them bought them, and others just wore whatever red they had.
We're missing some staff because they couldn't leave their classroom, so there were more staff.
So this group right here is our new organization. It's called Rotor Warriors. It was started by Mr. Balmer, who noticed that he had a number of students in his classes that had either brothers, sisters, or other family members, or even parents that were in the military. And they have unique challenges that other students don't have. You know, when your brother's off, you know, at either deployed overseas or at camp or whatever, that's a little bit of more of a anxiety that other students don't have. And it was first started as a kind of a way for students to talk to one another, to kind of you know, talk about some of their issues, and then they decided that they wanted to do more things. And one of the things that we did is last week we had our first annual Ohio Military Family Spirit Week. We had different dress codes for each of the days. This is actually a statewide holiday. It just happens to fall during our spring break. So instead of having 5 days, we only had 3. But it is a statewide event. So the first day was the branch wars, which they wore, different grades wore different military branch colors. Tuesday was camouflage or digi day. And then Wednesday was red day, where we asked them to wear red again or to wear purple. And they have a lot of ideas of where they want to go in the future.
In March, also, the Anna Beer Elementary Art Exhibit sponsored by Dark County Arts, and these are some of the students that received awards for what artwork they put in. So the artwork that's next to them is actually the ones that were put in by Mrs. Johnson. A neat experience for them. This is the father-daughter dance. It was a great time. We had so many people come out, so you could tell that we have not been able to get out and do much of anything lately. We had so many kids there. The dads like, we're still too cool to dance though. We had a lot of kids dancing. There's a lot of slow dancing, but when it came to they had like a competition between the dads and the girls. The dads kind of looked like zombies standing up while the little girls were dancing in front of them, but it was a really fun time for everybody. It was really well attended. And
then that same weekend, we had the junior high dance. First of all, big thanks to PTO for putting on both events. It was really cool. They decided to do both the same weekend so they can just decorate the auditorium once and use the decorations, although they did have 2 different things. And there was still quite a bit of changing up the decoration over Friday night. The junior high dance was a country theme. They brought in some hay bales, which they removed all that, cleaned up all that mess, which if you've ever dealt with hay bales, leaves quite a bit of a mess behind. They cleaned that all up and got ready for the dance on Saturday, which was really cool that they did that.
Well, they had trees that they brought in with different lights on them, and yes, it was gorgeous. And the little girls, the dresses that they wore, it looked like a little prom.
And for the junior high dance, this was the first junior high dance we've had since the 8th graders or 6th graders. So for the 7th to 6th graders, this was their first junior high dance. I've been going to junior high dances for years. I will have to say, this dance, I saw the most boys dancing than I ever did. Normally it's the girls out in the middle of the floor dancing. The boys are too cool to go off on the side. But actually this year I saw quite a few of the boys out dancing. We had a full group. It was actually kind of cool to see that many kids there. 2 weeks ago, we had 2 students, Abby Fike and Alexis Barhorse, did a series of posters and very short videos focusing on distracted driving. They actually there was an article in the Dark County Now newspaper about this. We posted their videos on social media and on the school website. They did a really good job. They were all talking about different things, whether it's wearing makeup or eating or checking your phone, ways not to be distracted while in the car.
The posters are right outside in the hallway.
Well, they're actually up there too.
There you go. We started a caring club around Christmas time at the elementary level, and their kids that signed up K through 5. This time around, we made Easter cards and wreaths for the Brethren home to put on some of the doors for some of the people that are in the Brethren home. So that's just a group of the kids that were part of the caring club making the cards and wreaths. And then we had cookies on Wednesday before spring break or Easter break. And these are the elementary 3rd through 5th grade honor merit rolls. They each got a cookie and we took their pictures. Congratulations to them. We're proud of them.
And then these are the middle school honor rolls. So we have 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And then the high school honor rolls, which 9th through 12. And somehow Mr. Barr must have been on honor roll for 2 different groups because his pictures are in there. So.
Here's the upcoming events. We are finishing up testing right now. So I don't know what Mrs. Ray, if you're close, will you be done by the end of the week? I know we are planning on it. Okay. So we're excited the testing is completed. It was successful. There weren't many glitches. So it was I'm happy with the way everything went because you never know with technology what's going to happen. But everybody was able to get on and testing has been successful so far. Athletic Boosters meeting on the 27th of this month at 7 p.m. Hug the Earth Festival. I didn't put on the date, but is the 28th is when the kids are going, and there's going to be an actual big production on the 30th at the Sugar Grove. Is that what it's called? I think. And Troy, on the other side of Troy. Prom at Covington Eagles. It's going to be odd not having the prom in the auditorium, but it's exciting that they get to go away and get dressed up and have fun there. Grandparents' Day is May 4th. The theme is May the 4th be with you. It's going to be a Star Wars theme for Grandparents' Day. PTO meeting on the 4th as well at 6 p.m. Darke County Special Olympics is on the 13th, and then the academic banquet is on the 18th of May. A lot more field trips are going on. We're excited. Many first year readers never been on a field trip up to this point, and they got to go for the first time recently for the field trip to Stillwater Prairie, and we've got so many more planned. So we appreciate your support in those field trips, and the Miami County Park Foundation as well as the Darke County Park Foundation have helped with busing, pay for the cost of busing. And I think
So for
there you go.
athletics, high school tracks at Pickle tonight. Baseball, softball is at the Seminole Valley on the 21st. The 22nd, tracks at Ansonia, softball is at Houston, and baseball is at Bethel. 23rd, junior high tracks at FM, softball is at Greenville. The 25th, baseball is at Legacy Christian. The 26th, junior high tracks at Miami East. High school tracks at Versailles. Baseball, softball is at Tri-Village. 27th, softball is at Covington. 28th, both baseball and softball are at Dixie. 29th, softball is at St. Henry. And the 30th, baseball is at Greenville at home.
I feel for Chloe because it's a lot of having to reschedule and everything else this time of year. So kudos to her for all that she's done. I know that the softball team went away and they had some pretty rough weather up there, I think, during the softball tournaments. But overall, we're coming near the end. It's been a good school year. Do you have any questions for us? Oh, sorry.
Nope, we got, so we did have the state powerlifting meet. The girls were the state champs, and Joshua Durstein was the 125-pound state champ. There's a picture of the girls and Josh.
And we had a parade. I don't know if that's
Yeah,
on
we
there or not.
sent the kids through the school. And just recently, we were able to honor a former student, Bryant Byers, who we unfortunately lost a couple years ago. He was big into baseball, so they were able to hang a replica jersey. Senior baseball player Keaton Mead and Brian's cousin, who plays for FM, were able to hang the jersey, and it will be hanging in the center field as a reminder of Brian. And then we have a new organization that is under the leadership of Corey Cannon and Chloe Thompson. And this is a student leadership council, and they have started to recognize the teacher of the month. The students at SCL nominate and vote on a deserving teacher at their monthly meetings. This month, the group chose Mr. Latino for his dedication to students in the classroom and his ability to push their learning abilities. The students also see and appreciate that Mr. Latino cares beyond the building and is a strong supporter of Red Raider athletics. Thank you, Mr. Latino.
Oh, I forgot to also mention that Mrs. Seifring was nominated for our Teacher of the Year for Darke County teachers, and she does a great job getting those kiddos where they need to be. Spends a lot of time with that data to get them there. Any questions? All right, thank you, guys.
Thank, thank you very much. I'd like to pause the meeting for a moment if any in the audience needs to get going before we go to the second half of our meeting. So next presentation, Mrs. Brewer, do you have anything from the?
I just have quick, our March meeting was held at the Willowbrook, and they have a really nice museum there if you haven't ever been there to see it. It's pretty interesting. So we did a tour of it because it's been a couple years since we've been back there with COVID. We used to have a meeting there once a month, but I think third graders in Miami County go there. I don't think we go, but they go there for a field trip. It's really something we can check into. But and then our April meeting is going to be at Pickwa because we're going to check out one of the new satellite programs. So they're going to kind of venture out from being at the Career Center more and just try to visit other locations. So we may have one at Bradford sometime.
That's kind of nice.
And our convocation is May 26th at 7 o'clock. Hobart. Yep. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Hurst.
I want to give it to Carla first, if that's okay. She's got some things to discuss here, and I've already got the PowerPoint pulled up, so.
Sounds good.
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about the situation with our track and how that's coming along, because we have a lot of questions asked to us where we're at on that and why we don't have track. And so we started out, I would say it's probably been 2 years ago, with meetings with the athletic director. I wasn't involved at first, but later got to be involved with Mr. Hurst and working through an idea of a track, what that means to us, what that works for the Bradford School District, how that should look. And so you met with 5 builders,
Thereabouts.
various builders in the community and outside of the community to try to get an idea of what the track would cost and what we needed to plan for. So after they had a pretty representative idea of what needed to happen for this construction, then working with an architect, the conceptual design was put together to bring some life to this thing. And as you saw in the float in the parade, that idea was incorporated into pictures that people could visually see. It was at that time that the school board put the levy on the ballot. That came to fruition in November. It passed quite handily. I think the public was very much in support of what was going on here. And we had a three-part plan for that, where we were going to go out for the bonds for a third of the cost. Then we were doing what's called certificates of participation for a third. And then the other third was going to come from the general fund to help fund this, thinking that was a way we wouldn't impact the establishment and the operations and still be able to construct this track and make it available for the kids. So we have multiple events for education, doing lots of things. And when the levy passed, that started the second leg, but not immediately. Whenever you pass a levy, you can't really do a whole lot until you get a certification that comes around 30 days later. So it was December before we had the levy certified. And at that certification, then that's when everything started to pull together, and we started having to put our documents together. Now, for those of you that haven't seen what's been going on behind the scenes, there are these books that have been put together. There are actually 2 of these for each financial transactions. And we had to go through several situations to get to this point, and compiling information. That is all data on the Bradford School District that tells the story about the school district and gives us the opportunity to sell ourselves. And we were fortunate enough that we got an A+ rating, which is very good for a school district. And we went out to Standard & Poor's, who rated us. We went through an interview process, and I feel like it worked very much in our favor. And with that, then we started to go through the financing. And so that is where we're at today. We have financed the first set of bonds. We received an interest rate of 3.46%, which in today's market is actually very good. But we are working through that particular situation. We have not collected any dollars at this point. So from October to this point in time, we're just now getting ready to get our funding for the project. We'll get our funding for this project sometime in the next 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes the 1st of March. Then the other project, the certificates of participation, which has to have a requirement from the state, will be sometime towards the end of May. And with that, we will have all our funding in place. Now, concurrently with all this, what was going on is that we were interviewing architects, made an architect selection. They are out working on trying to establish the cost. We had the soil borings just last week or the week before? Week before. The soil borings and the topographic survey, and all that's going to lead into them putting bid packets together and start to get this to move. So as you can see, there are several steps in here. Most of the financial steps really are what get us to having the money to do this. And then when we get through this process where the bid packets go out, and I think they're thinking they're going to go out sometime May or June. At that point, then we'll start to firm up numbers, know exactly where we're at, and you will start seeing ground movement. You'll start seeing things happen, and that will happen this summer. So that's just a basic concept here, and I hope it answers some of the questions that we've had in the community on what's going on and gives you an overview of things. So do you have any questions about that, or is there anything that we could specifically answer to give some peace of mind to people that we are moving ahead and that it is going to come to fruition sooner rather than later?
I don't know that question, but I think right now, when we start with bus one, before we start on that, that's, that's more coming out of our general fund, that we're looking for.
Yeah, that,
So, because there's steps that have to be taken. That needs to be done before we do this.
that needs to happen because for a couple of reasons. One, it'll be a storage facility to allow us to keep sites on ground and keep them protected. And it's the gateway into what's going to happen with the construction, because they have to have ingress and egress back to the site. And so all that has to be established and built to make that site readily available for all the equipment that will be coming in. So that was the first leg of this to make that happen.
And it didn't require 100+ page document to make it happen.
You don't ever want people to sit back and say, well, Bradford's not putting their money in, but they're waiting all the time. This is a step forward that you guys have taken forward. We've got to get this thing.
It was a very difficult thought process on how to balance out still continuing operations without having any effect on what's happening here in the district, the good things that are happening here in the district, and still being able to do this project. So I think there was a lot of thought. We had a lot of discussions. It was, I feel like, very well planned. And the district is definitely stepping the plate and putting a lot of dollars up there, because they will be responsible for the second debt, but it shouldn't be a burden to them. So I think that's a very positive situation. I do, outside of that, want to tell you that we're coming to an end on our audit, finally, the one that was supposed to be over November 30th, with very little problems. Just took a lot of time this time because they did it all off-site. We managed to get through an AUP audit. That was very successful, and we're continuing to garner Medicaid dollars. And this week we had an interview with independent public accountants who will be doing our audits from here on out for a while instead of the Auditor of State's office. So those are some of the things that have been happening in the office. And I think a lot of positives. It's paperwork. It's not exciting. What I do is not exciting, but it's necessary to get us where we need to go. And with that, I'll conclude my report.
Any questions for Carla? I just want to thank you for your effort, having had the opportunity to read that big stack of complex legal documents and financials. It takes somebody who's got experience to actually take what we envisioned and create the financial instruments to be able to make that happen. So I'm not sure everybody really appreciates that after reading those and the complexity associated with them and what you had to provide. All the bond creating documents is we would not be able to do that without your experience and without your effort. So we're graciously happy that you are here to help us create this. I'm not sure it would have been a doable effort without your experience, because it is complicated, and you know, your ducks are in a row. All this stuff is complicated and intense. So we appreciate it as a group. I don't think even as a community we'd be able to get there without some experience. So we appreciate all your efforts. And I know it's been a job on top of the job. But I think at the end of the day, you'll look out there and you'll be able to see that that work, and the students actually not traveling to other districts to practice will be an incredible asset to our community. So thank you very much. Next, Mr. Hurst.
Yes, I would like to follow up with just a few of those things. The first thing I had here was an update on the construction. Obviously, if you haven't seen the other side of the building there, we do have a bulldozer out there, thanks to Logan Ray. He's doing the site prep for the bus barn. The trees are down. We did unfortunately have to lose a few trees in this process, but he's got that big hump moved between us and the neighbors there on Grandview, and starting to level everything out, making sure that that's ready for that barn. He's expecting to be done hopefully even this week, which means that our plans from Bruns will be able to be executed by Flores. The site will be available as early as next week. I want to guess there's probably going to be another week or two in transition there, but they said they could get on it fairly soon. So hopefully we'll be seeing them out here without too much delay, and start seeing some concrete and some 2x4s and 2x6s and start seeing some progress here. So we're excited about that. I would like to also echo there, if you guys haven't seen these 100-page documents, most of it is very boring reading, but Carla, that's her world. She lives this stuff and she's very good at it. So these are type of things that couldn't be done, just like Dr. Swab was saying, without her help. So we appreciate that. Next, I'm going to embarrass a couple people. First of all, we've got a new golf coach that's going to be hired at the next meeting. He came graciously tonight. He had an empty spot here in the evening. A graduate of Bradford, Hayden Dickerson, is going to be one of our golf coaches, and he wanted to put a face with a name. So if none of you, or if you didn't know Hayden, I remember him from high school here when he was a student, and he was one of those that you always saw in the high school and not in the principal's office. So it was a good thing. So Hayden, do you want to say anything?
They pretty much summed it up.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you and welcome aboard. So we'll make you official next month.
I graduated in 18.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you. I have two letters here I'd like to share with everybody. The first one here comes from a representative, Mark Ewing, from the the OSBA Southwest Regional Manager position. And this is a letter entitled or addressed to Mrs. Brewer. It was actually sent to me, so I opened it and all that sort of thing, but I opened it up and everything's in here is to you. But it's basically a congratulations for 15 years of dedication to Bradford. We have this nice little certificate here that I want to pass down to you here. But it's a nice little gesture to say lots of hours spent here, and we appreciate all your hard work. And I know this is 15 for you. Dr. Swab, I'm scared to ask you how long you've been here.
I don't know. I guess if you did it right the first time, you wouldn't have to stay so long. So it's, I don't know. It's been a while.
Okay. And the last piece I wanted to discuss here, we had applied a few years back for a notation called a Purple Star Award. And the Purple Star Award is a denotion to a school district for supporting their armed services families. And this year, Bob and Michelle were talking about this already, about the new group called Rotor Warriors that's put together this year to really support those kids on another level and make sure that they've got an outlet to kind of discuss different things that are going on in their households that they're having troubles with. I am proud to say that's going with full-fledged vigor right now, thanks to the FFA and Mr. Balmer. The Rotor Warriors is something that I'm very proud of and seeing. And as of last week, we had that purple star designation renewed. So we are once again recognized as a Purple Star school district. As a very neat addition to that, today I walked in to a letter that I opened up from the mail from Roger Edwards. And if this will just take a minute, but I'd like to read this in its whole. Dear Mr. Hurst, I am an 82-year-old Marine Corps veteran. On April 7th, I attended my granddaughter's first track meet at Franklin Monroe in Arcanum. I was wearing my Marine Corps jacket. It was an emotional moment for me when several young students from Bradford School approached me and thanked me for my service. Each one of them looked me in the eye and shook my hand. I get that often when I'm out in the public, but not from courteous young men and women like the ones from Bradford School. Please extend my thanks and appreciation to those members of your track team. I have one who stands for our flag and kneels for God. In deep appreciation, Roger Edwards, and gave his phone number and address here. So those are the type of things. I shared that with Mr. Balmer today, and those are the things that we rarely get to see, how well the programs that are out there help our students and actually do make a difference. And it's times like this that really make you reflect and see those moments and see that they actually are getting through. And we've got a great group of students here, and I'm very proud of not only our student body, but our school and our community. So thank you for that. That being said, that is all I have for my report, unless you have questions.
Any questions? Next is then public participation. I didn't have any requests. Did you have any special requests?
Did not.
So next, we have a lot of things to go over, so I'll try to help navigate us through this in an efficient manner and not belabor on the details. A lot of it it's all for us to read and get through the process. So first item is the financial report from the treasurer. The superintendent recommends the consent items, which are our financial journal, the check register, the appropriations, and transfers and advances. And then donations from Scott Biesecker, primary care internist Scott Hellman, to Bradford Lions, C Square Industrial, and Nutrient Ag Solutions, and Mr. and Mrs. Brian Byers. Next is recommend the acceptance of a donation from Covington Eagles. Item 14 is creating a fund for the district management group, aka Road Warriors, for the purpose of supporting students who have parents or siblings in the military. Next is approving Boeing and Scattergood for opening a new investment account. And next item is approving same company for opening investment account for bond holding proceedings. And next is a resolution. So whereas is basically to give the reasoning, and the resolution is that the Bradford Board of Education requires a minimum cash balance of 120 days of general operating expenses for the first 3 years of a 5-year forecast, line 1501, also known as the ending cash balance. And the OLA policy 6220 in the budget preparation allows the treasurer, the CFO, creation of the budget reserve fund. The fund will not be separately stated, but will serve as the ending cash balance as stated in the 5-year forecast in line 1501 for the first 3 years of the projected year forecast. Next item is a contract with Hunter Consulting. And the final item is approval of the state auditor's audit of financial statements from 7/2019 to 6/30/2021. Do I have a motion to approve those items before us? Louis for first and Maria for second. Any discussion or question regarding those 19 items? Did you have something in this? Oh, yep. I don't think so. Or we can note that you sustained for that, and I did for our office. I mean, They're just donations. Yeah, not really voting. We're just kind of, they're just have to, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it blew past me too. So I'm like, yeah, good catch. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call for approval.
Mrs. Brewer.
Yes.
Pastor Rindle.
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
Yes. We have no old business. Next is new business, items 1 through 21. Superintendent recommends approval of the following items. So we have resignations in employment for certified personnel and also for reemployment. Those listed in item B for 1-year substitute contracts. Item C is a 1-year limited teaching contracts. Item D, employees for a 3-year limited teaching contracts. And item E is 5-year teaching contract. And item F is a 1-year substitute contracts for those listed on the agenda. Item G is classified 1-year contract for summer custodians. Item H is supplemental assignments of 1-year supplemental contracts for this year for football, cross-country, volleyball, and cheer coach. Item 2 is approving the overnight stay for the Bradford FFA to attend the Ohio FFA State Convention in Columbus. And next is approving overnight stay for the FFA for Muskegon in June. Item 4 is approving an agreement with KK Tours to conduct a student tour Washington, D.C. for the 8th and 9th graders. Item 5 is approving overnight stay for that same group. Item 6 is approving the following meal prices as listed in the agenda. Item 7 is dock days for Ashley Fry is listed. Item 8 is dock days for Athena Beechler. And number 9 is accepting the school fees as listed on page 10 and 11. And item 10 is a resolution, whereas today's staff members mold the future citizens through their guidance and education. Today's staff members encounter students of widely different backgrounds and abilities. Our society expects public education to provide quality education services to all children, no matter their backgrounds or abilities. And our country's future depends in large measure upon the education of our youth received today. And our staff members spend endless hours outside the classroom preparing, engaging lessons, evaluating progress, counseling, coaching students, performing community service, and supporting the instructional goals of our district. Our community recognizes that its staff members are providing quality educational services to our children. Therefore, we resolve and proclaim that the Bradford Exempted Village School District Board of Education designates the week May 2nd through 6th of this year as Staff Member Appreciation Week. And further proclaim that the Board of Education calls on our community to join with us and express the appreciation for our staff members for a job well done. And the board would like to express their appreciation with a small token of appreciation and provided in the building during that week. And definitely we much appreciate our extra outside the routine day-to-day activities that our teaching staff must do, as well as our administrative team. Item 11 is recommending accepting a $500 educational grant to promote health and safety for impact teens. Item 12 is collaborating planning with Miami County Sheriff's Department for Safety Town in June. Item 13 is approving an interagency agreement and memorandum of understanding with Dark County Public Schools, Dark County BODD, and Coors Head Start to operate a Head Start program here at our district. Item 14 is recommending adjustment following contracts and additional information provided for volleyball and powerlifting coach. Item 15 is approval of the master servant agreement with Meta Solutions. Item 16 is approving a contract with Meta Solutions for final forms July 1, 2022 to June 2023. Item 17 is approving the application for the Supply Chain Assistance Fund. Item 18 is approving a 5-year summer school teachers for this year. Next item is 19. Is the superintendent recommends the after completion of their schoolwork, the following students be listed as candidates for the class of 2022. Can't believe it's time to do that again. And item 20 is recommended approval of celebration of Juneteenth on June 20th. And the last item is approval of Logan Ray excavating for preparation of the site of the bus storage building. We have a motion to approve the items listed. Thanks, Louis. Second, Scott. Discussion or questions or clarifications on any of those items that we have for us?
I have 3 items that might make things a little bit more clear. The K&K trip to Washington DC is this year's 8th and 9th graders or next year's 9th and 10th graders. Next year, we will follow suit because we want to get that back to 8th grade. So next year will be again 9th and 8th grade. And then the following year, we'll get back to just either 8th grade or we'll do whatever we need to from there. But we've got 2 years for sure that we will have 2 groups going at the same time. The pricing for the lunches is going up just a little bit. I can't tell exactly when we increased those before, but it's been at least 2 years that those have increased. And all the other fees are remaining the same. So those haven't changed for a number of years. So, and there are some classes in there we've left in there that we don't necessarily offer anymore, but we left them in there for fees just in case something were to rebound and we'd have those classes. But there's a couple extras in there just in case. That's all I had, unless you have questions for me.
Questions? And roll call for approval, please.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Pastor Rindle,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
Yes. Next, item 22 is one-year substitute contract for Michelle Manuel. A motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call for approval.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Pastor Rindle,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Same.
Dr. Swab.
Yes. Next item is the review, first reading of the board policies that were submitted to us end of last week. They went on and on and on and on and on.
Typical Neola fashion.
Yeah. Any kind of overview or anything that you would like to add to those to clarify or questions or for us? And then there's any questions from the board after the perusal.
I have a brief overview of each of these statements. If anybody wants to look over those, including anybody in the area here, the crowd. If anybody wants to see those, you're more than welcome to, but it talks about college credit plus. There's a new thing out there for staff dress and grooming, saying everybody should be professional. Blended learning, dress and grooming again. Thing for weapons, grants, credit cards, weapons, food services, non-discrimination. Most of it's very boilerplate. There's a few pieces here that we actually declined from Neola. But realistically, to me, there's nothing on here that's exciting. And this is one of the shorter lists that we've had. So, but if any, I do have 2 copies up here. I think there's probably at least one person entered crowd here that would like to look those over. So, but if you got questions, by all means, I don't think any of this is earth breaking, but it's a requirement. It's an update. Keep us current with the laws.
Any controversial issues or anything you guys felt that needed specific attention drawn? If not, then we'd consider that our first official review. Next is a motion to enter executive session for item G1 and G4 on our agenda. Scott, and I'll second. Roll call.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Pastor Rindle, Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
Yes. And there'll be no action taken after we exit executive session.
She's in
First of all,
No, 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 no. I've already read them. She must have, the guy never officially said anything yet. But why would he keep asking that? I told him, I said, you're supposed, I said, what's he supposed to do? I didn't put him on the radar, I need time. Okay, I'll make it.
I will.
I've already read them once. Hey, she wants them back. I already got them.
She's got some.
You forgot College Credit Plus, that's in there too.
2 hours.
At least 2
Yeah.
hours to read it, absolutely. They added the selective service stuff in there.
Yeah. And Wanda, if you want the deep dive stuff, like,
Anything
Anywhere
that's gonna take me You don't want- time.
You don't want to dive stuff.
this is
Deep dive?
2
No,
to
you don't
20
want that.
pages per item.
20? No.
Some of them, yes.
I think maybe an overview is gonna be okay.
Okay, this is, you've got the other
If I need some more hours, I'll let you know.
You can just keep that.
Thank you.
And
So-
we will go across the hall.
Friday, coming, I could keep crying. She's like, I'm late to this job show. I was, so just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. Right? And it's at the doctor's office at Nationwide. And they do like at-risk, like, one day's trans.
That was unexpected.
Friday was OB/GYN.
Always unexpected consequences of things.
Drugs. Every day was a kid appointment for different, a different subject. And she goes, I really like it. She goes, it's 8 to 4:30. She goes, let's work with people. Those are the kids I want. I'm like, okay. So like, so she wrote like 20 minutes late. And she did, I think she did job shop for 2 hours. Yep, 2 hours. And they called her today after the job. They go, is there any time you think about? She goes, no, I'll take it. June 20th. Yeah, she's all excited. So June 20th. $26 an hour. Yeah. Yeah.
And I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't comfortable when I first got, I mean, I had to have an assessment.
I'm like, how?
just, you know.
Appearance is 2020.
Yes.
It is what it is.
Perception.
This is what people think it is. Not what reality is.
You stay right there. You don't have to crawl back there.
No, I'm not gonna-
We exited executive session.
Sure.
Please.
I forgot, it's back here.
7:40. 7:40. Thank you. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Maria, in a second. Maria, roll call for adjournment.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Pastor Rindle,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
Yes.
7:41.